Let's talk about money. Not in the finance bro kind of way. Not in the read this 87-page ebook and buy my course kind of way either. No, we're talking about that quiet, sneaky relationship you have with money. The one that lives inside your brain and whispers things like, money doesn't grow on trees. Rich people are greedy. I'm just not the type to be rich. Sound familiar? Harv Eker calls that your money blueprint. And spoiler alert, if you're not where you want to be financially, your blueprint might be the problem. This isn't about stock tips or crypto coins. It's about mindset. It's about the invisible script that runs the show every time you open your wallet, get a paycheck, or set a price for your product. Eker's core message: rich people think differently about money than poor and middle-class people. They don't just earn more, they think more intentionally. And the wild part, you can install a new money mindset, like updating the software on your brain. Imagine this. You're 7 years old. You're watching your parents argue about bills. One says, "We can't afford that." The other snaps, "Money is the root of all problems." And bam, that moment gets etched into your subconscious like graffiti on a subway wall. A subway wall. Fast forward 20 years. You're working hard, you're hustling, but money slips through your fingers like sand. You save, then spend. You earn, then sabotage. You dream big, but doubt even bigger. Why? Because deep down, your brain is just running the old script it downloaded as a kid. That's your money blueprint, and it's controlling you. Harv Eker breaks it down into 3 layers. 1. Verbal programming. What you heard. Money doesn't grow on trees. Rich people are evil. We're not the kind of people who get rich. These phrases are like sneaky mantras you didn't even choose, but they've been influencing your financial behavior ever since. 2. Modeling. What you saw. If your parents were always stressed, fighting over money, or making bad financial choices, guess what becomes your normal? Money equals conflict, or money equals anxiety, or worse, money equals never enough. 3. Specific incidents. What you experienced. Maybe you saved up as a kid and someone stole your money. Maybe you tried a side hustle once and failed. Maybe you got rewarded for being humble and shamed for wanting more. Each experience reinforces your blueprint, for better or worse. So what's the fix? Here's the truth bomb. You can't out-earn your money mindset. You could win the lottery and still lose it all. Ask the 70% of lottery winners who go broke again, for real. But if you upgrade your mindset, even if you start small, you build real, lasting wealth. Not just in your bank account, but in your identity. So, step 1, become aware of your blueprint. Call out the old scripts and ask yourself, whose voice is this? Is this belief even true? What new belief would serve me better? Because mindset is like a thermostat. If your internal setting is at $50,000 a year, you'll find a way to earn and spend to stay at that level. But if you raise your setting, your results rise too. Let's play a game. I'm going to say a sentence, and you tell me if you've ever said it or at least thought it before. Why does this always happen to me? The economy sucks. My boss is such a control freak. People just don't support me. I'd be rich if I had their connections, luck, support, family. If yes, congrats, you've been running the victim script. And here's the punchline. Victims don't get rich. They might get attention, sympathy, even a few likes on Facebook. But wealth? Nope. Wealth file number 1. Rich people believe, I create my life. Poor people believe, life happens to me. Let's break that down. Rich people, creators. They ask, how did I create this situation? What can I learn from it? What can I do differently next time? Even when things go wrong, they look inward before they point fingers. They take ownership. Full, 100%. No excuses. Even if it's not their fault, they still ask, what's my responsibility in this? Poor people, victims. They blame the government, they blame the economy, they blame their childhood, their partner, their boss, their cat, the Mercury retrograde. They live in reaction mode, constantly waiting for something outside of them to change before they feel okay inside. There's a reason this mindset feels so real. When you play the victim, you actually get something in return. In psychology, it's called a secondary gain. You get to avoid responsibility. You get attention. You don't have to try and risk failure. You get to say it's not my fault. But here's the cost. You give up your power, your future, your money, your agency. Harv Eker's rule? You can be right or you can be rich. Pick one. Wealth file number 2. Rich people play the money game to win. Are you playing to win or just trying not to lose? Picture this. You're watching a soccer match. One team is going all in, attacking, taking risks, pushing for the win. The other team, they're just defending, playing safe, hoping the game ends 0-0 and they can walk away without losing. That's how most people play the game of money. They don't play to win, they play not to lose. And here's where Harv Eker hits us with the truth. Rich people play the money game to win. Poor people play the money game not to lose. So what's the difference? Middle class or poor thinking sounds like this. As long as I can pay the bills, I'm fine. I just want to be comfortable. I don't need to be rich. Seems reasonable, right? Humble even. But here's the problem. Comfortable is a trap. It's like living in a padded cell. Not painful enough to make you leave, but not exciting enough to truly live. When your financial thermostat is set to just enough, that's exactly what you get. Enough to get by, but not enough to break free. Now let's flip the switch. Rich people think like this. I want financial freedom. I want to thrive, not just survive. I want to create real value and be rewarded for it. They don't set goals like just don't go broke. They ask bigger questions. How do I build wealth? How do I create systems that make money without me? How do I design a life where I don't stress every time a bill comes in? Defense versus offense, a life analogy. If life were basketball, most people play defense all day long. They're dodging debt, avoiding risk, responding to emergencies, and trying not to fall behind. Rich people play offense. They create, they launch projects, they take calculated risks and bet on their skills. Defense avoids pain. Offense creates opportunity. Why do most people play it safe? Because it feels safer. When people say, I don't really care about being rich, it's usually not true. It's fear talking. Fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear of being seen as greedy or arrogant. But what if wealth isn't about showing off? What if wealth is about freedom? The freedom to leave a toxic job, the freedom to say yes to passion projects, the freedom to take a break and breathe when life gets too heavy. Wealth gives you choices, and playing not to lose takes those choices away. Reframe it like this, instead of, I just want enough to get by. Try, I want enough to live, give, and grow with zero limits. Eker puts it this way, if your goal is to be comfortable, chances are you'll never be rich. But if your goal is to be rich, you'll probably end up very comfortable. See the shift? When you aim higher, you rise. When you aim for enough, you stay stuck. Try this. Upgrade your financial goal. Take 5 minutes today and write down, what's your current financial goal? Is it a defensive goal, just survive, or an offensive goal, create wealth? What's one bold, exciting, scary, in a good way financial goal you could commit to now? Let your goal stretch you. Make it uncomfortable, because that's where growth lives. Wealth file number 3. Rich people are committed to being rich. Wanting versus committing. That one word that changes everything. Let's talk about a word that sounds harmless, but secretly kills dreams. The word want. Think about how often people say things like, I want to lose weight, I want to travel more, I want to start a business, I want to be rich. Wanting is easy. It feels good. You say it, and it gives you that instant dopamine hit, like you've already made progress. But spoiler, you haven't. Harv Eker makes a clear line in the sand. Rich people are committed to being rich. Poor people only want to be rich. So what's the real difference? It's the difference between interest and intention. When you want something, you'll do it if it's convenient, if it fits your schedule, if you're in the mood, if it doesn't require too much discomfort. When you're committed, you do it no matter what. You show up even when it's hard. You make decisions that align with your goal, not your feelings. You stop negotiating with your excuses. Wanting is passive. Committing is active. Here's the real talk. Wanting to be rich is like swiping right on success. Committing to be rich is like showing up for every single date, even the awkward ones, and doing the hard emotional labor of building a real relationship. Most people are in love with the idea of being rich, but not the reality. They want the lifestyle, the freedom, the cool house, but not the hard decisions, the discipline, the risk, the sleepless nights. Harv says it plain, if you're not fully committed, forget it. You're out of the game before it even starts. The 3 ways people block their own wealth. They want riches, but they focus on fear. What if I fail? What if people judge me? What if I lose money? Here's the truth. If fear is the loudest voice in the room, commitment doesn't stand a chance. They say, I'll try. Trying is a trap. You either do or you don't. Trying gives you a back door, an escape hatch, a way to quit and say, well, at least I tried. They want success, but they don't want to pay the price. Success has a cost, it always does. Time, energy, risk, money, comfort, it asks for all of it. But the thing is, so does mediocrity. You're going to pay a price either way. One leads to growth, the other leads to regret. The commitment shift. So how do you know if you're committed? Simple. You start doing things that your old self would have avoided. You get up early to build your side hustle. You start learning about investing, even if you hate numbers. You finally have that uncomfortable money conversation you've been avoiding. You set real financial goals, and you back them with action, not just Pinterest quotes. When you're committed, you stop asking, what's easy, and start asking, what will move the needle? Wealth file number 4. Rich people think big, poor people think small. How big is your financial vision? Let's get brutally honest for a second. When someone asks, what do you want in life? Do you say things like, I just want to be comfortable, I just want a decent job, I just want a little extra income, I just want to be stable? The key word is just. It's the universal signal that you're playing small. And playing small isn't humble, it's selfish. That's right, selfish. Because when you think small, you serve small. When you think big, you create, impact, build, help, and lead at a much bigger scale. Harv Eker says it straight. Rich people think big, poor people think small. Why do so many people think small? It's not because they're lazy, it's because they're scared. Scared of failure, scared of judgment, scared of responsibility, scared of standing out. They've been taught things like, don't get your hopes up, be realistic, know your place. So they shrink. They water down their goals to fit what's acceptable. They aim for crumbs and then get mad when they don't feel full. But here's the thing. The world doesn't reward small dreams. It rewards big solutions, big courage, big service. Thinking big is not about ego, it's about impact. Thinking big doesn't mean you want to be better than others. It means you want to serve more people, because wealth is a byproduct of value, and value is created when you solve problems. Small thinkers ask, how can I make enough money for myself? Big thinkers ask, how can I help 1,000 people, 10,000, 1,000,000? See the shift? One is self-focused, the other is service-focused. And the crazy part, the more people you help, the richer you become, financially, emotionally, spiritually. The pizza shop analogy. Imagine 2 people open a pizza shop. Person A says, I just want to pay my bills. They keep it small, do everything themselves, never market, never grow. Person B says, I want to serve the best pizza in this city. They hire help, invest in branding, innovate their menu, maybe even franchise. Guess who ends up creating jobs, inspiring others, building wealth, and living with more freedom? That's the power of thinking big. It multiplies. What happens when you think bigger? You attract better opportunities. You become more resourceful. People take you more seriously. You stretch beyond your comfort zone. You start acting like a leader, not just a hustler. Thinking big doesn't guarantee success, but thinking small almost guarantees struggle. Wealth file number 5. Rich people focus on opportunities. Poor people focus on obstacles. Glass half full or broken beyond repair. Let's say 2 people are offered the same opportunity. Start a business, join a new investment group, or take a course that could change their financial future. Person A says, this is exciting, what if it works? Person B says, sounds risky, what if it fails? Same offer, 2 completely different perspectives. One sees potential, the other sees problems. And that's exactly what Harv Eker means when he says, rich people focus on opportunities, poor people focus on obstacles. How you frame the world shapes your bank account. This isn't about being delusional or ignoring risk. It's about where your mind lives by default. Do you instinctively scan for what could go right? Or are you always bracing for what could go wrong? Because here's the truth. Opportunity is always there, but only those tuned into it will see it. Fear acts like blinders. Possibility expands your field of view. It's not magic, it's mindset. Why do some people only see obstacles? It's often habit. Maybe they were raised around constant worry. Maybe they've been burned before and now wear caution like armor. Maybe they think being skeptical, being smart. But the real reason? They confuse comfort with security. They believe avoiding risk equals safety. But in truth, avoiding risk often equals staying stuck. What they don't realize is, not taking a shot is a risk. Sitting still is a gamble. Doing nothing has a cost. The opportunity filter. Rich people aren't fearless. They're just trained to evaluate risk through a different lens. They ask, what's the upside here? How can I make this work? Even if I fail, what could I learn or gain? They look for how it could work, not why it might not. It's not about blind optimism. It's about having a proactive brain, one that focuses on possibility instead of paralysis. Quick analogy, the gold mine. Imagine two people walk into an abandoned gold mine. One sees the mess, the dark tunnels, the risk of collapse. The other sees old maps, faint gold dust on the walls, and potential in what's been overlooked. Guess which one finds treasure? The one who dares to dig. Wealth file number 6. Rich people admire other rich and successful people. Poor people resent them. What's your first reaction to wealth? Picture this. You see someone pull up in a blacked-out Mercedes, or posting vacation pics from Santorini, or sharing a 6-figure business milestone. Be honest, what's your gut reaction? Do you think, wow, good for them, that's inspiring? Or must be nice, probably got lucky, bet their parents paid for it? That little flicker of judgment, that's not just a passing thought, it's a window into your money mindset. Because as Harv Eker puts it, rich people admire other rich and successful people. Poor people resent them. Why this matters more than you think. Your brain is always paying attention. It listens to your thoughts, and it builds rules from them. So if you constantly criticize, mock, or dislike rich people, why on earth would your subconscious ever let you become one? Why would your brain say, yes, let's become what we dislike? Answer, it won't. Instead, it'll hold you back, sabotage your decisions, make you feel guilty every time you make more money. Because deep down, you've trained it to believe being rich equals being bad. The cultural programming is real. Let's be honest, we're not born resenting rich people. We're taught to. We grow up hearing, money changes people, rich people are greedy. If you're rich, you must have stepped on someone to get there. They're lucky. We're not like them. It gets reinforced in movies, shows, even jokes. The rich guy is usually the villain, the crook, the one who gets humbled by the good poor person. So over time, we internalize it. Rich equals bad. Humble and broke equals noble. It's a myth, and it's deadly for your financial future. What rich people actually do when they see success. They celebrate it. They learn from it. They say, if they can do it, I can figure it out too. Successful people don't resent success. They study it. They ask, what strategies are they using? What risks did they take that I haven't? What beliefs do they hold that I need to adopt? They treat other people's success as a mirror, not a threat. Imagine this. You're climbing a mountain. You spot someone ahead of you, already at the peak. You could hate them, say it's unfair, accuse them of cheating, or you could admire them, watch their path, and let their ascent prove what's possible. One reaction lifts you, the other locks you in place. Wealth file number 7. Rich people associate with positive, successful people. Poor people associate with negative or unsuccessful people. Who's in your circle? Ever hear the quote, "You are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with"? Well, that's not just a motivational soundbite. It's your financial reality. Because the people you surround yourself with, they shape your beliefs, they influence your standards, and most importantly, they normalize your results. Harv Eker says it like this: rich people associate with other positive, successful people. Poor people associate with negative or unsuccessful people. Environment is not neutral, it's magnetic. Think about it. If your closest friends all complain about money, hate their jobs, and blame the economy for everything, how likely are you to think bigger, to take risks, to level up? Now flip it. If your circle talks about investing, building, scaling, growing, learning, that energy becomes your new normal. It rubs off on you. It pulls you forward. You rise or sink to the level of your surroundings. Why do people stay in negative circles? 2 big reasons. Comfort. It's easier to stay with people who get your excuses. If everyone around you believes money is evil or just getting by is success, you'll never feel challenged to want more. Fear of outgrowing others. A lot of people worry, if I grow too fast, I'll lose my friends. They'll think I'm arrogant. They'll say I've changed. And guess what? Sometimes they will. But that's not a tragedy. It's a trade. You can't climb if you're chained to people who want to stay on the ground. What rich people do differently, they seek out growth-minded people. They don't want small talk. They want real talk about business, ideas, goals, improvement. They ask for advice. They share wins and lessons. They challenge each other. There's a constant energy of what's next. Rich people build growth tribes, and they know it's not about cutting people out. It's about choosing who you let in. This isn't about snobbery. It's about standards. You're not too good for anyone, but you do get to choose whether you spend time in rooms where people complain or collaborate, blame or build, dwell in fear or act from courage. If you're always the smartest or most ambitious person in the room, you're in the wrong room. The right people will stretch you. They'll push you forward. They'll make unrealistic feel normal. Wealth file number 8. Rich people are willing to promote themselves and their value. Poor people think negatively about selling and promotion. The word no one wants to say. Let's say it out loud. Self-promotion. For some, that word feels dirty, cringy, maybe even shameful. I don't want to sound like I'm bragging. I don't want to be pushy. I'd rather let my work speak for itself. That's what most people say. But here's the truth. Your work can't speak if you never give it a microphone. Harv Eker puts it like this. Rich people are willing to promote themselves and their value. Poor people think negatively about selling and promotion. Why people hate promotion? Because they confuse it with manipulation. They've seen the sleazy sales tactics, the fake urgency, the overhype. So they decide, I'll never be like that. And instead of learning how to sell well, they stop selling at all. But here's what they don't realize. Every successful person promotes. They promote their ideas, their work, their mission, their value. Not because they're arrogant, but because they believe in what they're offering. Promotion isn't about ego, it's about service. Think about it. If you have a product, service, or skill that can genuinely help someone, wouldn't it be selfish to hide it? Imagine a doctor who discovered a cure but was too shy to share it. Or a chef with the best food in town who refused to hang a sign outside. How would anyone know? How would lives improve? Promotion, when done right, is a transfer of belief. It says, I believe this can help you. I care enough to tell you about it. Rich people get comfortable being seen. They understand something simple. If no one knows you exist, no one can pay you. Visibility creates opportunity. Obscurity kills momentum. That doesn't mean faking it or shouting the loudest. It means clearly communicating your value, confidently, consistently, authentically. It means saying, here's what I do, here's who I help, here's how I do it, here's how you can work with me. No apology, no over-explaining, just clarity. Poor people hide their value. They often think, if I'm good enough, people will find me. But in today's world, noise wins. And if you stay silent, you get drowned out. They wait for permission, for validation, for someone else to speak on their behalf. But the truth is, no one will champion you more than you. Rich people don't wait for a spotlight. They build one, then they stand in it. Wealth file number 9. Rich people are paid based on results. Poor people are paid based on time or value. Which one are you selling? Here's a question that might sting a little. Are you getting paid for the hours you work or the outcomes you create? Because that difference right there, it's the line between average income and wealth. Harv Eker breaks it down simply. Rich people are paid based on results. Poor people are paid based on time. Trading time equals financial ceiling. If you're paid by the hour, your income is always limited by one thing: time. There are only 24 hours in a day. No matter how skilled you are or how hard you hustle, there's a cap. So unless you plan to clone yourself or skip sleep, the math doesn't work in your favor. Rich people understand this. That's why they focus on leverage, creating systems where their time isn't the bottleneck. They don't just work harder, they make money work harder for them. The mindset behind hourly thinking. Most people are trained from childhood to think like employees. Work hard, get paid, put in the hours, earn your wage. The longer you stay, the more you make. And yes, honest work deserves respect. But if your income only grows when you work more, then you've built a trap, not freedom. Wealth isn't about working 80-hour weeks. It's about finding ways to earn without being present 24/7. Rich people chase value, not time. They ask, what problem can I solve? What transformation can I deliver? How can I create results so good people will pay 10x for them? They think like entrepreneurs, not employees, like value creators, not time sellers. That's why a consultant can charge $5,000 for one strategy session, or why a course creator can earn 6 figures while they sleep. Because the client isn't paying for their hour, they're paying for the result that hour unlocks. Time-based thinking feels safe, but it's small. Time for money feels secure. You show up, you get paid. But what happens if you stop showing up? Your income disappears. That's not stability, that's fragile. Rich people build assets, not just income streams. They build systems that generate income even when they're offline. Products, investments, businesses, royalties, automation. They aim for scalability, because wealth grows when you stop being the only gear in the machine. Wealth file number 10. Rich people think both. Poor people think either or. The dangerous question most people live by. You've probably asked yourself one of these before. Should I focus on money or happiness? Should I choose a safe job or do what I love? Should I save or invest? Should I be rich or be a good person? Sound familiar? That's called either-or thinking, and it quietly shapes the way most people live, earn, and limit themselves. Harv Eker says it like this: poor people think either-or, rich people think both. The trap of the trade-off mindset. Most people believe life is a constant trade-off. If you get one thing, you must lose something else. It sounds logical. I can either work a lot or have time for family. I can either make money or be fulfilled. I can either succeed or stay true to myself. But that kind of thinking creates artificial limitations. It shrinks your options. It teaches your brain to stop looking for win-win solutions. And if your brain stops looking, you stop growing. Rich people ask better questions. Instead of asking, should I do A or B, they ask, how can I have A and B? Not out of greed, out of creativity, out of belief that life can be designed, not just endured. They ask, how can I grow my business and have time off? How can I be rich and generous? How can I scale income and stay aligned with my values? It's not about being unrealistic. It's about not settling for false limits. Either or is usually a fear disguised as logic. Here's the truth. Either or is often a defense mechanism. It keeps you safe. It protects your ego from disappointment. It helps you justify playing small. Because if you convince yourself that both isn't possible, then you don't have to try. You don't have to risk. You don't have to grow. But if you believe both is possible, now you have responsibility. Now you have to figure it out. And that's where wealth is born, in the search for better answers. The power of abundance. Thinking, here's the mindset flip. Poor thinking says, there's not enough. Rich thinking says, there's more than enough, if I'm creative enough to find it. Abundance doesn't mean excess. It means expansion. It means believing that solutions exist beyond what's obvious. And once you train your brain to seek both, it starts building pathways to make it happen. Wealth file number 11. Rich people focus on their net worth. Poor people focus on their working income. The wrong financial question everyone's asking. Most people measure their success by one number. How much do I make? They look at their paycheck, their salary, their monthly revenue, and use that as a scoreboard. But here's the truth. Your income is just one piece of the puzzle. The real question is, what's your net worth? Harv Eker puts it like this: poor people focus on working income. Rich people focus on net worth. What is net worth really? Your net worth is what you own minus what you owe. It includes your savings, your investments, the equity in your home or assets, business ownership, passive income streams. Then subtract all your debts, loans, credit cards, liabilities. The result is your true financial snapshot, and it tells you more about your wealth than any monthly paycheck ever could. Why working income can be misleading. Working income feels like progress, but if you spend it all, or worse, if it's tied 100% to your time, you're just running in place. You can earn 6 figures and still live paycheck to paycheck. You can get promotions, raises, and bonuses, but if your expenses scale just as fast, your net worth stays flat. Rich people don't just ask, how much am I making? They ask, how much am I keeping? How much is growing even when I'm not working? How much am I worth today, and how is that trending over time? The 4 factors of net worth. Eker breaks down wealth into 4 core pillars: income, money you earn; savings, money you keep; investments, money that grows on its own. Simplification, living below your means, minimizing liabilities. Rich people work on all four. They increase income, yes, but they also save intentionally, invest consistently, simplify strategically. It's not about being frugal or obsessed. It's about optimizing how money flows through your life and making sure some of it stays and multiplies. Poor people often ignore the long game. They think, once I make more, I'll start saving. Once I pay off this debt, I'll start investing. Once I'm older, I'll think about assets. But wealthy people start tracking and growing their net worth now. Because they understand, the earlier you build it, the faster it compounds. Wealth is a curve. The sooner you get on it, the steeper it grows. Wealth file number 12. Rich people manage their money well. Poor people mismanage their money or avoid it altogether. The conversation nobody wants to have. Let's be honest, for most people, money management ranks somewhere between flossing daily and cleaning the garage. Boring, tedious, easily avoided. They say things like, I'm just not a numbers person. I'll start managing money once I have more of it. It'll all work itself out. But here's the harsh truth. If you can't manage a little, you'll never manage a lot. Harv Eker puts it bluntly, rich people manage their money well. Poor people mismanage their money or avoid dealing with it altogether. Avoiding money, avoiding growth. Most people think they have an income problem. In reality, they have a money management problem. It's not how much you earn, it's how you organize, allocate, and control what comes in. If your only system is get paid, pay bills, spend what's left, hope for the best, then you're not managing your money. Your money is managing you. Why people avoid managing money? It usually comes down to one of these. Fear. What if I look and it's worse than I thought? Shame. I'm behind. I should be further along. Confusion. I don't know where to start. False logic. I'll deal with money later when I have more. But avoiding money doesn't protect you. It keeps you stuck. Rich people do the opposite. They face the numbers. They track. They budget. They assign every dollar a job. Not because they're obsessed, because they're in control. Money loves attention. Here's a universal truth. What you manage grows. What you ignore shrinks. Money is no different. If you want more of it, you have to respect it, like any important relationship. That means checking in, having honest conversations, creating structure. Rich people know that the more attention they give their finances, the more confidence they gain, and the faster their wealth compounds. Eker's simple money management system, Harv, teaches a basic system using percentages. You can adjust the amounts, but the idea is to divide your income into key categories. Necessities, 50%. Bills, groceries, rent. Long-term savings, 10%. Future big purchases, emergencies. Play, 10%. Fun, guilt-free spending. Reward yourself. Education, 10%. Courses, books, coaching, grow your mind. Financial freedom account, 10%. Investments and assets. Give 10%, charitable donations, generosity. You don't need to be rich to start doing this. You just need consistency. Even if you only earn $100, dividing it builds the habit of wealth. And that habit is what matters. Wealth file number 13. Rich people have their money work for them. Poor people work hard for their money. Are you the worker or the boss of your money? Most people are taught from day one, go to school, get a job, work hard, get paid. Then repeat that cycle for 40 years and hope it all works out. It sounds responsible, it sounds noble. But here's the problem. It creates a life where you're always working for money instead of letting money work for you. Harv Eker doesn't sugarcoat it. Poor people work hard for their money. Rich people have their money work hard for them. Working hard isn't the problem, it's the strategy. Let's get this straight. Hard work is important. But if hard work alone created wealth, every construction worker and single mom would be a millionaire. The truth is, wealthy people work hard too, especially at first, but their goal is different. While most people aim to earn money, rich people aim to build money machines. They don't want to stay the engine. They want to design the engine, then let it run. What does it mean to make money work for you? It means creating income that continues even when you're not actively working. That could look like investments that earn returns, rental properties generating monthly income, businesses with systems and teams, royalties, digital products, licensing deals, stocks, ETFs, index funds, dividends, Anything that grows without you trading hours for dollars. When your money works while you sleep, that's freedom. That's wealth. That's leverage. Why poor people stay trapped in the labor loop? Most people are stuck in the earn, spend, repeat cycle. They live for the next paycheck. And if they stop working, everything stops. That's not just exhausting, it's risky. One illness, one layoff, one bad month, and the whole system collapses. Rich people think differently. How can I build systems that keep going, even when I take a break? They use their active income to build passive income. They let money become their employee. You don't need millions to start. You can start where you are with what you have. Saving $5 a day and investing it. Building a small side hustle that earns while you sleep. Turning knowledge into a digital product. Automating part of your business. Every step you take toward making money work for you is a step away from needing to work for money forever. It's not about becoming rich overnight. It's about breaking the chains, one link at a time. Wealth file number 14. Rich people act in spite of fear. Poor people let fear stop them. Everyone feels fear. The difference is what you do with it. Let's be clear up front. Rich people feel fear too. They're not robots. They're not immune to doubt, anxiety, or worst-case scenarios. They just don't stop because of it. That's the difference. Harv Eker says it like this: poor people let fear stop them. Rich people act in spite of fear. Fear is not the problem. Avoiding action is most people are waiting to feel confident, waiting until it feels safe, waiting for the fear to go away. But here's the twist: it never completely goes away. You don't eliminate fear by thinking about it. You eliminate fear by moving through it. And when you move, two things happen. You realize most fear is imaginary. You gain real confidence, not from books, but from doing. Fear always shows up before growth. You want to know when you're on the right track? When you're scared, because fear usually shows up right before the next level of your life. It's not a red light, it's a green light disguised in discomfort. Rich people know this. They treat fear like an old friend. They hear it, thank it for trying to keep them safe, then move anyway. Poor people, they negotiate with fear. They let it talk them out of action, and in doing so, they trade growth for comfort. What keeps people frozen? 3 common fear-based questions. What if I fail? What if people judge me? What if I lose money? Valid questions, but not useful ones. Rich thinkers flip the script. What if I learn something huge? What if I succeed beyond my expectations? What if this one decision changes everything? The risk never disappears, but the way you relate to risk, that's everything. You don't need to feel brave to be brave. Here's a truth most people forget. Courage is not the absence of fear. It's doing what needs to be done while you're afraid. If you're waiting to feel ready before you start the business, before you invest, before you speak up, you'll wait forever. Rich people take action while their hands are shaking, and that action builds real confidence, brick by brick. Wealth file number 15. Rich people constantly learn and grow. Poor people think they already know the most dangerous sentence in the world. I already know that. Sounds harmless, right? Even confident. Maybe a little smart. But that one sentence, it quietly shuts the door on growth. It signals to your brain, no need to stay open, we're done here. And that's where poor thinking begins. Harv Eker puts it like this: poor people think they already know. Rich people constantly learn and grow. The myth of knowing enough. A lot of people believe once they finish school, that's it. They've got the degree, the job, the basics. Why keep learning? But here's what wealthy people know. The moment you stop learning is the moment your wealth stops growing. Because the world is moving fast. Markets shift, strategies evolve. Opportunities appear and disappear. If your knowledge stays the same, you fall behind. Rich people make learning a lifestyle, not a phase. Ego is the enemy of wealth. One reason people stop learning: ego. They confuse being smart with knowing everything. They feel threatened by new ideas, as if admitting they don't know means they're failing. But rich people are the opposite. They stay curious. They ask questions. They hang around people who know more than them. And they listen, because they know the person who knows the most doesn't win. The person who learns the fastest does. Growth is a discipline, not a trait. Rich people schedule their learning. They read, they go to seminars, they invest in coaches, courses, conversations. not because they're clueless, but because they're committed to getting better. Meanwhile, poor people say, that book's a scam, that seminar's overpriced, I can figure it out on my own. But figuring it out alone is the slowest, most expensive way to grow. The power of beginner's mind. In Zen philosophy, there's a concept called shoshin, beginner's mind. It means approaching every situation like you're brand new, no matter how much you know. Staying open, staying teachable. Wealthy people live there. They know that one insight, one shift can change everything. And it usually comes after you thought you already knew it all. Wealth file number 16. Rich people learn from other successful people. Poor people think they already know or distance themselves. Who are you learning from? Let's say you want to get in shape. You've got two options. Listen to your cousin Dave, who used to go to the gym once in college. Hire a trainer who's helped 100 people reach their fitness goals. Obvious choice, right? But when it comes to money, most people take advice from cousin Dave, from broke friends, from cynical coworkers, from people who don't have the results they want. Harv Eker sums it up perfectly. Rich people learn from those who are more successful. Poor people often ignore them, or worse, resent them. The problem with only listening to yourself. A lot of people take pride in figuring it out on their own. Sounds noble, but often it's just ego wrapped in independence. Here's the truth. If you already knew everything you needed to know to be rich, you'd already be rich. So when someone successful shares insight, and your instinct is to say, yeah, I already know that, or that won't work for me, or they just got lucky, you're not protecting your intelligence. You're rejecting your next level. Rich people stay close to mentors, not comfortable opinions. Rich people know something poor people forget. Proximity matters. They intentionally learn from coaches, mentors, books, podcasts, masterminds, successful friends and business owners. They don't just admire people from a distance. They study them. They ask questions. They take notes. They apply what works. They treat other people's experience as fuel, not competition. Poor people often reject help because of insecurity. They hear successful advice and immediately think, I'm not ready for that. I don't belong in that room. That's easy for them to say. It's usually not jealousy, it's shame. But you can't rise while rejecting the rope being thrown to you. Success leaves clues. Want to earn more? Learn from someone who already has. Want to build a business? Study someone who's built 3. Want to master investing? Follow people who've done it, not just talk about it. Success isn't random, it leaves patterns, and rich people follow those patterns, even if it means being a beginner again. Wealth file number 17. Rich people take action, poor people talk, wish, or wait. The gap between knowing and having. You've probably heard this before. Knowledge is power, but that's only half true. Applied knowledge is power, because here's the thing. Most people don't lack information, they lack execution. They read the books, watch the videos, take the notes. But then, they wait. Harv Eker calls it out clearly. Poor people talk a lot, dream a lot, wish a lot. Rich people take action. Talk is cheap. Execution pays. Everybody says they want to be wealthy, but very few people are doing anything today that's actually moving them toward it. Why? Because action involves risk, effort, vulnerability, discomfort, and for most people, staying in the idea phase feels safer than stepping into the doing phase. But here's the truth. No one gets rich from a great idea. They get rich from acting on it. The perfect plan trap. One reason people don't take action? They're waiting for the perfect plan, the perfect moment, the perfect market, the perfect confidence. Here's what rich people know. Imperfect action beats perfect intention every time. They launch before they feel ready. They course correct as they go. They don't need to know every step, they just commit to the first one. That's how momentum is built. Step, learn, adjust, repeat. Poor people let fear, doubt, and delay run the show. They say, I need more time. What if I'm not good enough? I'll start after I finish this other thing. I just need a bit more research. But deep down, those are all just more polite ways to say, I'm afraid. Rich people feel that fear and take the step anyway, because they understand confidence comes after action, not before. Action is a discipline. It's not a personality trait, it's a muscle. And like any muscle, it grows the more you use it. Rich people don't feel like taking action all the time. They just do it anyway. They treat action like a non-negotiable habit. not something that needs permission, motivation, or the mood to be just right. The mindset is the foundation. At the end of the day, wealth is not just about money, it's about mindset. It's about how you see the world, how you respond to it, and what you choose to build in it. Apply these 17 wealth files like your future depends on it, because it does. Now the only question left is, what will you do with what you've just learned?